When I think about how walkable a community is, I sort of am asking the question, how much would a person choose to go out and be on foot in that community? It's not some kind of abstract measure, it's really a very real thing. Would you choose to walk to the corner store? Would you let your child walk to school? Would you want to walk to the corner park? That's what kind of tells me how walkable a place is. I can give you measurements and say, well, sidewalks should be this wide and they have to be continuous and we want traffic to be slow. But in the end, the average person really knows what walkability is because they know whether they want to be out there on foot or whether they say, boy, that doesn't feel safe, that doesn't feel appealing, I'd rather drive. And what we really want to talk about is, even more broadly, activity friendliness. I want people to feel like they could walk, ride a bike, take transit, and all of those are appealing because it's safe to walk to the transit stop, and the bus system runs frequently, and it's not too expensive, and it'll still be running late at night. And if I want to ride my bike and then put it on the front, there's a bike rack on the front of the bus. So it's all of those things together that make, to my mind, a healthier community. We've really seen a trend over the last 30 to even 50 years, certainly since World War II, to build less and less healthy communities. You know, we became very dependent, for example, on the automobile. We designed neighborhoods so that they were easy to drive and big wide roads, no sidewalks and housing subdivisions. We built malls and strip malls and big box stores with giant parking lots around them. But if you looked for a bike rack, you couldn't have found one. And what we did was we designed for the automobile because we thought that was the American dream. Everybody would want one. What we've recently discovered is that's not actually what everybody wants. People like the idea of being able to walk to a corner store or have a park down the street and maybe even have a local retail establishment where you know the business owner, they know you, they know your preferences. But all of that also turns out to be healthier. In fact, we talk about the triple bottom line. If I build an environment where it's easier to walk, bike, and take transit, I get three benefits. I certainly get the public health benefit. People are being more physically active. I get the economic benefit of a more thriving local economy. Businesses are more sustainable. But I also get an environmental benefit, right? I've got less air quality problems, less traffic congestion, fewer greenhouse gases. All of those are a result of building an environment where it's easier to walk, bike, and take transit more often.
We are, I don't know if you know, but we are the most dangerous city in the nation for walking and biking. More cyclists and pedestrians killed and injured in Central Florida, sadly, than anywhere in the nation. And that can change. We can change that through better use of streets, it's called complete streets policies, and that'll be one of the things that hopefully all of the teams work on. That is one of the areas that the Winter Park team has focused on for the last year and a half they've been meeting.
The Dangerous by Design study is really bad news for the area because it says as a region, we still have some of the highest rates of pedestrian crashes and fatalities in the United States. And all you have to do is drive around. As somebody who travels all over the country and sees this, you've still got a huge number of really, really wide roads that move huge volumes of traffic really fast. And I'm not talking the highways. I'm not talking about like I-4, the interstate. Your surface road system still looks very much like it's designed only about one thing, moving more cars faster. Now, there's a national campaign called Complete Streets. And the premise is simply this, that a street really isn't complete until we've taken into account four user groups: the pedestrian, the bicyclist, transit, and the motor vehicle. Historically, recent history, we've only been designing for the automobile. And if there's a little room left over, we might stick a sidewalk on the edge or maybe stripe a bike lane, but usually those are afterthoughts. Now we say, let's look at all four users: peds, bikes, transit, motor vehicles. Design a system that works for all of them. And understand, it doesn't mean you stripe a bike lane everywhere. It just means you always ask the question, and different techniques will be used in different places. That's not what Florida's been doing for the last 30 years. What you guys have been doing is designing for cars to go fast. And the price you pay is that kills a lot of pedestrians, because if you have impaired pedestrians, if you have older pedestrians that simply can't get out of the way, unaware pedestrians, they are going to become easy targets for fast-moving, inattentive traffic. So it really takes design changes. You know, you can blame the victim. You can say, well, those pedestrians shouldn't have been out there. But the reality is this system is clearly designed to move cars fast, and that's going to kill people eventually. It seems overwhelming if you tell somebody, okay, we're going to change the environment, and you say, I don't even know who to go talk to about getting a sidewalk built in my neighborhood. What do I do? The one nice thing about this initiative is it's trying to bring together the varied disciplines, because it can't just be public health people. We need planning, we need public works, we need the regional planning entities, we need the economic development agencies, we need experts in housing, all of them at the table. So they're trying to convene them. And I would suggest that if you're interested in this, reach out to the Winter Park Health Foundation. Find out about the initiative in your area, because one of their very specific tasks here is to pull together engaged citizen advocates and even do training, help people understand, what is it do I look for? You know, if I were to go out into my neighborhood, I'm not even sure I know what I should be looking for. Well, there are people that do. In fact, we just did a walkabout where we talked about the very attributes of the physical environment. We went out and walked and looked at things that would both encourage and discourage people from walking and bicycling regularly. Well, we could do that in your neighborhood, and I would suggest reach out to this group, get involved, and then bring one of these walkabouts to your neighborhood, because they're going to want to do that. They want to see this change happening. And this is how it happens: block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, town by town. Always give people these 3 rules. Rule number 1, be careful. We're in the real world. It's not just hypothetical photographs anymore. Be careful crossing the street. Don't just step across because somebody in front of you does. In particular, watch out for the facilitator and make sure he doesn't get run over. He's very valuable, and he often tends to get waving his arms and walking backwards right into traffic. Don't let him do that. Everybody understand number 1? Be careful. Number 2, let's look through all possible eyes. That is, let's look through the eyes of a 7-year-old who is inattentive, or a 70-year-old, my mom, who can't break into a run halfway across the street if the light changes on her, right? Or who might trip over something that I wouldn't trip over. Think about all users. Think about somebody in a wheelchair, or pulling a grocery cart, or pushing a small-wheeled stroller. How does it work for them? How does it work for somebody who's visually impaired or blind? Got number 2? Think about all the potential users of the setting. Number 3, score everything that you see on a 0 to 10 scale. So as we're walking, you're thinking, is this, in the 0 to 10 scale is stickiness. Stickiness for healthy activity. So is where I'm walking fruitful, sort of encouraging of the healthy choice, or discouraging? Does everybody understand? There are a lot of different things that factor into stickiness. We've been talking about them all morning. But I want you to amalgamate all of them into one numeric score from 0 to 10. So you'll say, I give it a 7, or I give it a 2, or any other number, 0 to 10. Got what we're doing? So, I'm asking you to be active participants. This is not a chance to go and just stroll and chat about, I like how you're doing your hair now since you've gotten it cut. That's not what we're doing. We're talking about the environment that we're in and looking at, and we're actively experiencing it, and we're sharing, wow, this would lower my score, I can't believe, or this would raise my score. Everybody understand what I just said?
10 is the highest.
Good. Yeah, the 0 to 10 score is 10 is good, 0 is bad. Highly sticky, not at all sticky for healthy choices. Well, encouraging for the healthy choice. Remember what stickiness is, our measure of sustained impact on healthy choices versus unhealthy. So you can be looking at tobacco, food environment, or physical activity. Everybody get that? We'll string out, that's fine. We'll recollect when we stop to talk. So don't worry about the fact that we spread out a little bit as we walk. Because I tend to walk as fast as I talk. Can't help it. I can't help it. Most encouraging of healthy choices, 0, not encouraging. Got it? From the front door to here. Go.
7.
Some people struggled with the instructions, speaking when the hand wasn't over them, but other than that, we did fine. I'm very excited. Good. 8, good. So I heard a lot of 6, 7, 8. I didn't hear any 10s, so, but I didn't hear any 0s. I didn't hear any 1s and 2s. So tell me some of the things that were raising your score. One at a time, just shout your thing out.
Wide.
Wide sidewalk.
Shade.
Good. Shade.
Bike racks.
Bike racks, right here.
Slow traffic.
Slow traffic.
The 1.5.
Smooth. Quality of the sidewalk. Whoa.
The 1.5.
1.5 setback, and some places even a parked car between me and the road. Okay, so it was hot on that side where the new section is. Okay. Okay, now we're stepping onto a more challenging sidewalk. To get on the sidewalk side. What's your choice? Everybody gets to vote. How many would say just walk down this side of the street because we want to get down to Fairbanks? No sidewalk. It's right here. There's no sidewalk right here. So we could either walk along here or we can cross the street and then have a sidewalk on the other side. Who wants to stay on this side of the street? Not cross. Okay, who wants to go ahead and cross Denning and then make our way? Okay, so we're gonna do that. Oh. When we have a big group, it's a lot easier to get them to do that, isn't it? Does everybody agree that overall numbers went down pretty dramatically? There's no right or wrong answer, by the way, when we're doing this. All I'm getting is a sense of the group. Why? One at a time, shout our thing out. What made it go down? So traffic noise, we have to yell over the cars. No, the missing sidewalk over there. Weeds, more growth in the sidewalk. No crosswalk right here on a really important crossing. Acorns, oh, quality of the surface though. Were there some bad, how would my mom do on some of that? Totally bad. How would a wheelchair do? Really bad. What else lowered it?
In some places, the sidewalk ceased to exist.
So there were places where the sidewalk literally went away, even in the neighborhood, right? Dirt had overcome it and then growth.
Shrubs were growing over.
Okay, how about brush from a house growing out into the street? Or into the sidewalk? Did you guys get that? System, not a lot of money, but a retrofit. You could put stripes and signage. Excellent, great, that's the way to be thinking. And all of a sudden your score could go up, tick, tick, 1 or 2 points just by that. Okay, guys got the idea? Really good job, okay? We're gonna go on to Fairbanks. So we found as a method, these walk audits are a good way to sort of break down barriers, get everybody in the conversation. Admittedly, you can't scan the entire city, but the exercise of even looking at a segment allows us to now go in, and if we had aerial photos and maps of the whole community, we could really roll up our sleeves and talk about what we saw here, how it relates to other parts. Are there other roads like Denning that might lend themselves to a road diet, that 4 to 3 conversion we talked about? That's it, that's absolutely a traffic calming technique. Drivers tend not to blow as fast through because of the brick. Another cutout for the parking here.
Plenty of space for them to
right.
open the door.
Even, that's exactly right. Sure, we happen to look at one and we all recognize how much easier would that street to be to cross if there was a bike lane, one travel lane in each direction, and a center median. Do we all agree we would get kids from this neighborhood to that park much easier? Okay, now what other streets might we do that on? We had a lot of fun on the walkabout because we saw a variety of conditions, from some really nice, very walkable areas in downtown Winter Park where, you know, if you've visited, you know they've got wide sidewalks and they've got the brick streets that slow down the traffic. They've got what are called curb extensions. It's when the sidewalk kind of bumps out at the intersection to narrow the crossing and make it easier to cross the street. They've got beautiful architecture that's pulled right up to the street, and you may not realize it, but when the buildings are up at the sidewalk, then it makes you feel more comfortable as a pedestrian. And when there's parking between you and the moving traffic, when there's a row of parked cars, you feel much safer. You don't have to get across a big parking lot to get into the front door of a building because the steps are right there and the parking is either out back or it's out on the street. So all those design attributes are wonderful. But now you walk into the neighborhoods, it's a different character. It might be front lawns and it might be sidewalks, but we also walked in areas where there was no sidewalk at all, or when there was a sidewalk. Think about it, Fairbanks Avenue. The sidewalk is right next to the road. You've got cars going 45 miles an hour right there. I mean, at one point somebody said, I almost got hit by the mirror on a pickup truck, you know, because they're just zipping along. Those drivers aren't looking at pedestrians. They're thinking about making it to the next stoplight before it turns yellow, right? So they are gunning it, and you're just something that's in the way as a pedestrian or bicyclist. So we experienced the range from the very good to the not so good at all, and it's eye-opening. What you find is people standing there, and they don't have to have a degree in engineering or planning, public works. They don't have to be experts. The average person gets out there and immediately picks up the cues and recognizes what's good and what's bad.